Man, it's hard to admit, but I have a problem with Sylvie. I think she's not a very well written character, but we'll get to that. So this is Loki episode 5, season 2, and perhaps one of the most interesting episodes since it fully focuses on Loki as a character. Actually, this is when the Lokiness of Loki actually comes into play, because now he has to go into Avengers mode. You remember that cast that he had in the beginning of the show, whereby he could just, he could just time jump from one time to another. This time that becomes a power. Actually, I think they're setting it up to be his ultimate ability in the next season. I think that's what's going to save the TVA. But in the opening, we get to see him jump over time and try to bring back all the team together. I think it was more of an Avengers movie. It was more of, let's bring back the team, let's put the team together so that we can go and save the day. And that was kind of cool. It was a bit nostalgic. It was a bit more of Tony Stark going and what is his name, Samuel L. Jackson, Fury, going to look for all these heroes so that they can come together and try to save the world. They all have their own issues. They all have their own very colorful lifestyle, but Loki decides to actually go for them and bring them together so that they can, try and save the day. They don't actually, spoiler alert, but I just love that sense of, I have to get this. And they're not perfect. For example, and it's a good thing that we also got to see Mobius in his element. We got to see Mobius with the jet skis. We got to see where his passion for jet skis came from. And so those are some of the things that I like about the episode. This guy, I can't remember his name. This guy, if you remember episode 1, he looked like one of the coolest people in the show. He looked like one of the goody two-shoe people within the show, and now we get to discover that there's a version of him that is actually like super badass, not badass in a good way. It's from the 60s, he's from the 60s, and it opens with them trying to escape from Alcatraz. And I was like, whoa, I like what they did with that character, because it gives the character a totally new dimension, during the first episode, he felt more like a side character, but with what they were able to do with him in this particular episode, they just gave him a new lease of life. He's more. If he's to come back in the next episode, I will not be able to look at him the same. So apart from him, there's also Obi, and we get to meet Obi in his other life where he's more of a writer and more of a scientist. But again, Obi comes in to actually save. Almost, I wouldn't call it save, but he is able to be a catalyst in Loki's intention to actually be able to fully harness the time jumps. And so I liked how suspenseful it was, but the most important thing I liked about this episode. Now, if you've watched my previous reviews, you remember how much I absolutely loved the cinematography. Well, they knocked it off the park again, and I must hand it down to the cinematographers. I think he did a fantastic job, especially for this episode. I thought of it as the symmetry episode, because everything is symmetrical. There's a sense of symmetry in each and every scene. It's so amazing that they chose to actually frame a lot of scenes like that. And it's okay, I don't know if you guys noticed, but every time Loki is like almost kept on the left side. I know it's a cinematic thing, but I kind of noticed that there was a certain placement of Loki throughout the show. That's what I noticed. But I don't know if I don't break down shows, so I can't quite confidently say, but that's something I noticed from a very artistic point of view. I also think that the set designs were fantastic. I know that we've had these consistent set designs in the previous episode, but during this period he was jumping over time. Loki was jumping over time, and during those small moments they will have these things about the set design that will just make scenes look interesting. There are these patterns everywhere on top of I think it's Obi's house, where you have this ceiling that has a lot of tiles that are arranged in a certain pattern, which gives it just a fantastic look and aesthetic. So this was one, and there's a lot of spaghettis in this episode. I don't mean spaghetti is the food. The spaghetti, in this universe, in Avengers, people vaporized into ash. This one, they become spaghettis. So there's a lot of that, and I think they used it effectively, especially with a particular scene with Loki and a particular screen with. It's just beautiful composition. So that's some of the things I liked about this show. The writing was also tight. until Sylvie came in. And as I said in the opening, I have a problem with Sylvie because she's a contradiction. I think she's she every time she comes on screen, I go like, what does this person want? Because every time she comes in, Loki does not become Loki. Loki becomes like a kid brother who doesn't know what he wants with his life. Loki becomes this confused individual who doesn't know what to do with himself. Every time she comes on screen, every time she's not on screen, Loki is okay. Loki is trying to figure things out. But every time she comes on and you have both characters on screen, I feel that the Loki that we know is watered down in order to accommodate Sylvie. You can say whatever you want to say. Just watch that scene in the restaurant when she's asking him about what he wants. I just felt that at that moment, they actually had to water down Loki in order to elevate her again. I'm not saying it's a problem, but I just think it's poor writing. Because Loki clearly knows what he needs to do. He understands what he has to do. So having her interrogate him and try to push him to say whatever he's supposed to do and him not being sure about what he's supposed to do, for me was kind of, I don't know what they're trying to do with that particular scene, but it was kind of off. Then they tried to, you see, after the event and when Loki went for her, she looked happy, she looked like she was comfortable with where she was. Until things started going wrong. That's when now she comes back to Loki and goes like, yo, things are not going well. We might as well have to do this thing. You see, that for me, yes, I understand that she's supposed to be selfish, she's a Loki, but her writing is designed to accommodate a certain or push for a certain vibe. Her writing is not, it's not solid, it's not planted, it doesn't have a foundation. She's very liquid. She'll just go with the flow. It's more likely of, oh, things are going right, I want things to go easy. Or when things are not going easy, or I want things to go back so that we can correct things because they seem to be they all seem to go all wrong. Yet, if you clearly understand, she was actually the beginning of all this. She was the cause of all this. She's the one who started it all. So when things go wrong, I would have expected her to accept her fate and go like, okay, so it's messed up, it's my time, I can just go easy. Rather than going back to Loki to tell him to go back and do whatever. Try to convince Loki and his team to actually try to correct her mistakes. She's one of those characters that I think they try to make her unpredictable, but it just ends up being a bit messy. Because you don't, if you commit, if you make a mistake and it doesn't work, you commit to that, you die with it, you die with your commitment. You don't go back and try to be remorseful when you actually try to do the opposite. So yeah, that for me was the problem with Sylvie. I think her writing is very, it's extremely weak. It's extremely convenient. Let me just put that word. It's very convenient for her. Everything is designed to be convenient for her. And Loki, on the other hand, it's designed to be straightforward. And it's designed. I actually prefer a Loki without Sylvie. I think for me it's far more interesting because we see him try to make stuff happen. We see him with the drive. We see him with that, without that. Every time he comes across Sylvie, there's that look that he has that I just don't like, which is pitying himself or being very sorry, very, very tame, very timid. And I keep asking myself, why? Why do you need to do that unless the writers decided to tone him down so that they can elevate this other character? So basically that's it. I really love the way this episode looks like. It's a very beautiful episode. And I like the writing for, I think, the first 25 minutes when it's just Loki alone and he has to try to bring these people together. I like the fact that we got to discover more about Mobius and all the other people who were at TVA. I think that was an interesting thing to do. I think that was very convenient because we needed to know what these people were about before they became who they became. So basically that's it. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch, and I shall see you on the next one. Please like, subscribe so that we have one episode remaining so that we can talk about the last episode, which is episode 6. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Please subscribe.